Hello! This video is going to talk about cables, knitting cables, specifically cables without using a cable needle. Knitting cables is essentially knitting your stitches in a different order from the order that they're currently on your left needle. So if we were going to cable cross these first two stitches on this left needle, we would knit the second one before the first one. The other thing we want to know about cables is whether we want it to be a right cross or a left cross. And that talks about the direction that your resulting stitch is lying. So if we want a right cross, we would want the second stitch to be knitted before the first stitch, and we would want it to come in front. If we want a left cross, we would still want the second stitch to be knitted before the first stitch, but this time we're moving the first stitch to the left, so we want the second stitch to come behind. That sounds completely complicated. It becomes much more clear as you're doing it, I promise. Now we're going to do 1/1 cable crosses first. This is going to involve 2 stitches. And we are just going to move, essentially we're going to swap them on the needles. Usually with a cable needle you would take 1 stitch onto your cable needle, knit the second stitch, and then knit the first stitch from your cable needle. We're going to do that without. So this can save a little bit of time in these patterns. We'll get started. Okay, so we're going to start with a right cross, a 1/1 right cross, sometimes known as a 2-stitch, 2 cable back. There's different terminology for it, and you want to check your abbreviations in your pattern to see how the designer has written these cable patterns. So we're going to knit the second stitch before the first stitch. We want the second stitch to move to the right, so we want it to come in front, and the first stitch goes to the back. We're going to knit into the front of the second stitch, wrap that round. Now we can't take it off the needle because there's a stitch in the way, so we're going to knit into the front of that stitch, and then we can slide them both off the needle. And you can see your second stitch has moved to the right. That's a right cable cross. Do that again. We're going into the front of the second stitch. Wrap your yarn into the front of the first stitch and slide them both off. Now we'll do the other way. So this is going to be a left cable cross. For a left cable cross, we want to move the first stitch after the second stitch. So we need to knit the second stitch from behind. So we're going to go in between the 2 stitches, grab the front leg of your second stitch, wrap your yarn, pull through, this gets fiddly, then knit into the front of your first stitch, and we've crossed the stitches. Do that again, in between the 2 stitches, grab the front leg of the second stitch, wrap your yarn and pull through. Front leg of the first stitch and take them both off. There you have your left cable cross. Now, if you bear with me, I will get back to the beginning of the swatch and we'll look at multiple stitch cables. So this could be any number of stitches. 2/2, 3/2, 5/5. Cables can be done with so many different variations that this is a handy tool to have to be able to knit these cables without a cable needle. It's not going to be quick to start with as you get the hang of this, because the principle of this is that you're going to be dropping live stitches off your needle and catching them again very quickly. So when you first start to do this, it's going to be slow going. You might want to just reach for your cable needle again. But this is handy to have on those instances when your cable needle has gone for a walk and you can't find it and you're in the middle of a row and you don't want to put your knitting down. Nearly there. Okay, now we're going to start this with, we'll do 2/2 cable crosses, and we'll do them to the right and the left as well. So now actually you can see these 1/1 cross stitches that we did in this row below. Okay, 2/2. So once again, we'll start with a right cross. And we want, because it's 2/2, we're going to work with 4 stitches. And we want stitch 3 and 4 to be knitted before 1 and 2. So we need 3 and 4 to go in front of 1 and 2. So we're going to put your needle into the front legs, catch the front legs of stitch 3 and 4. Here comes the scary bit. You're going to slide all 4 of these stitches off the needle. And you're going to catch these 2 live stitches that you dropped. Catch them quick. And then put 3 and 4 back on your left needle. So now we've altered the order of these and we have 3, 4, 1, 2. So when you knit across these, that is your right cable cross. You're going to see these better if you have a purl background to your cables. It will always make your cables show up better. Do that one more time. So we're going in, pick up 3, oops, and 4, slide them off. Pick up the live ones, swing these round to the front, pop them back onto your left needle again and knit through. Oops. Okie dokie. So we can do this the other direction as well. We want to do a left cable cross this time, so we want 1 and 2 to go in front of 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are going to go behind. We're going to grab the back legs of 3 and 4. I'll move my finger out the way, you'll actually be able to see. Sorry about that. Now we're going to slide the left needle out, take a deep breath, and catch the first 2 stitches. Bring 3 and 4 round, put them on your left needle and knit away. Now let's figure out, got extra strand of yarn here. There we are. Okay, that's stitch number 3, stitch number 4, 1 and 2 cross themselves, 1 and 2. This is very helpful to be able to read your knitting as well, just to make sure. You're going to think that you've made a mistake, but when you check, you can figure out where your stitches are and you won't get lost. One last time, we're going to go through the back of stitch number 3 and the back of stitch number 4. I did my purl row far too tight. There we go. Slide them off, catch 1 and 2. Much easier that time. And knit. Once you have the confidence to know that you're not going to lose your stitches are not going to go anywhere in the nanoseconds that you have them off the needle, you will find yourself knitting this much quicker. And that is cabling without a cable needle. Good luck and happy knitting.